but at some point we do have to launch. And of course, what you're looking at in this commercial here will be greatly condensed. And while I appreciate the adults that are in it, I want a more kid-centered video whenever we get there, with a little bit of, maybe a little bit of adult conversation, but more on our kids and their reactions to what they're experiencing, what they're doing.
Any board member like to
I just had one on the bridge. I know we're focusing on the bridge, the traveled part, but there's some really cool architecture and beautiful photographs and video you can get from underneath or to the side. I'd like to see a nicer looking angle on the bridge, more than just like Angel's traffic or, something more pleasing to the eye as far as the bridge goes. That was my only.
How does the board feel about the logo itself?
The logo looks, I like the logo.
I like the logo. I mean, I probably consider color-wise, if we start talking about long-term as far as really selling apparel and everything, we want to probably think about the colors a little bit more. If we want to go out and branch out the apparel and make it look more like the schools.
Yeah, where are we in terms of which option? Which option are y'all leaning towards?
Well, the option, I think that Melinda, the option, the most popular option when we had it before the group, what was it, purple?
I'll be honest, I don't remember. Do you remember?
We just voted on.
I think we voted on the different designs at that point in time. I don't remember us talking about colors.
Because I tallied. I was one of the people that helped tally.
Was it color or was the option?
It was mainly about the option of the design of the logo itself. And a few people made comments about the colors, and then that was it. That was going to be next.
No, one thing, I like the purple because let's suppose we use one color for Pascagoula, say like the red for Pascagoula and the gold for Gautier. Well, we might have some people say, well, look, they've got the red on top of the gold, or they've got the gold on top of the red. And so therefore, we blended them together with the purple. That's what I like.
Let me just, from an advertising standpoint and a branding standpoint, it is going to be a unique standalone concept within the framework of the school district. So it will be kind of the Bridge Academy will be a combination of everything. So it is, we are looking at a unique branding of the colors and that's come up as well. Where would the gold be? Where would the blue be? And all that. So it just creates conflict. And it's about, the other option is having our children able to cross the bridge to either school and be able to pick up courses that way as well. So if you have an offering here and you don't have an offering here, that the student has the option of making that trip across, because we do a lot of our stuff at CCTI now, College and Career Technical Institute, that students have to travel over. We have some options on the Gautier side where students travel over for those options. But it's going to kind of synthesize our efforts from an educational standpoint where kids on either side have the same opportunities. But we are pretty far along in the process, and so at some point we have to close on, what's going to be our logo, what's going to be our colors, because we're going to try and launch this thing in the early part of the first semester, if possible.
I thought the logo looked real professional. It's just a matter of, like I say, the colors. But,
So we saw a couple of the options, obviously having some technical difficulties, and I understand there's a group put together that have been looking at this stuff. If we could, would it be, did you give us before a hand? I know we looked at the different names and you showed us a breakdown from, I think, Superintendent Academy, Parent Advisory Academy on the name stuff. Did we ever get the logo options?
I don't know if those get forwarded out or not.
And I'd say when we say do we like the logo, not saying I have a huge issue with it, but just maybe to see what was presented as far as the options were, and maybe just on email and we could get back or whatever. So from Hummingbird's standpoint, like, are we holding and I know, I agree, eventually we have to launch this thing, want to do it soon. Is there something that needs to be done that we're holding up right now that we need to make a decision on this evening, or is there work we can do while we get this sent out to us over the next week, or?
Yeah, we can look at the next board meeting as an option.
That would be great. Seeing, I think it was good seeing kind of the process that they used to get to where we are today, fill in some of the blanks that we had about the process, maybe send that out, give us time to look at that, formulate any questions that we may have, get back to you in time to get them to them and get those answered, and then really be able to sit down and look at it at the next meeting now that we understand a little bit more about how they got where they are in the process, you know.
Any other comments?
I think it'd be helpful if we had maybe just one other color option at the next board meeting outside of those two.
And that's what I'm saying. I thought I saw on there options 1 through 4, but I think I might have read that wrong. But anyway, yeah.
And maybe an option, and I'm not saying, I mean, when you start talking about colors, you're going to get 100 different opinions.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, I understand that we may end up with one of those colors, and that's great too. But are we settled on the whole multiple color look? Like you get 5 or 6 different colors in the Bridge Academies, and then or at least that's what it looked like, as opposed to one block color.
So the idea behind that was to make sure that we can incorporate all 4 academies. It was important to have one logo that encompassed every academy. So this was how we found a way to represent each academy in one mark. So then that way we're able to break it out into the different systems, since each one is different for the student. You know, they're choosing one school or one academy path to take. So that was our solution, was to merge it into one by using the color blocks.
Yeah, I thought that was creative. My hesitation about that is that I expect in the future we're going to have more academies than we have right now. We're going to be doing law and public policy, and hopefully in 5 years we'll have 4 more academies. And so it seems like it may make sense to have just one block color as opposed to just trying to almost throw a rainbow up there and assign a color to each academy, and let's just settle on one color for everything, and then you could have some other type of differentiation for each academy. That's just a thought, but.
Good point. Any other comments? Okay, item 1C, do we have any visitors, Mr. Dunn?
We do not.
Okay. Item 2A.
My computer decided it's not work. We're grouping several routine items to a single consent agenda. Any board member may request that any or all items on the consent agenda be removed and considered as a separate item. If no such request is made, all the items on the consent agenda may be approved by a single action motion. Second vote by the Board of Trustees, consent agenda for July 8th, 2019. Request for approval of consent agenda. Request for approval of board meeting minutes, June 10th, June 26th. Request for approval of personnel resignations, recommendations. Request for approval of docket of claims for June 2019. Request for approval of in-district student whose parent is an employee. Request for approval of enrollment of out-of-district students whose parents are employees. Request for approval of release of students. Request for approval of youth facilities. Request for approval of donations and grants. Request for approval of 2019-20 extra duty supplements. Request for approval of forestry escrow expenditures. Request for approval of FY20 IDEA project application. Request for approval of certificate of final completion, Central Elementary and Eastland Elementary School Improvement Project. Request for approval of certificate of payments and final completion, Tretlight Academy and Central Office 2018 Improvement Project. Request for approval of construction change directive number 1, 2019 CPTI Restroom Improvements Project. Request for approval of applications and certificates of payments. Request for approval of Pascagoula-Gautier School District English Language Plan. Request for approval of 2019-2020 salary schedules. Request for approval of administrative salaries 2019-2020. Request for approval of summer stipends. Request for approval of proposed fundraising activities. It is recommended the board It's recommended that all items on the board's consent agenda for July 8th, 2019 be approved.
Does any board member have any item they want to remove and act on separately?
Yes, if we could, please, make sure I got the right one. L and S, please.
Could we also remove Q as well? I'm just going to have some questions specifically about it, so maybe it'd be better if we just...
Well, you can go ahead and ask questions on it now if you don't want to act on it.
We can do that. We can do that.
So so far, just L and S? Okay. And Mr. McNeil, if you want to go ahead and ask questions about that.
Yeah, so about Q, request for approval of the Pascagoula-Gautier School District's English Learner Plan. Is this the first time we've ever had this plan, or is this just every year?
Every year.
Okay. Is basically everything in the plan federally mandated or state mandated?
You want me to answer, or do you want to answer that one?
I'll take this one. It is modeled after the approved Mississippi guidelines for English learners and what we have to do inside of our state through state mandates and through federal mandates.
Okay. It's an extensive plan. Are there aspects of the plan that are discretionary that we are different than other school districts?
One thing that used to be prescribed that's no longer prescribed, that is a school district decision, is how we do alternate grading.
Okay. And how do we do that? Can you explain? And so what I'm trying to understand is just what are we doing differently as a school district versus what other schools are mandated to do? And what discretion do we even have to make decisions on this?
The federal guidelines will say something as students, you cannot fail a student based on English language proficiency, and then that's it. So we go further to state when it comes to language proficiency, if they score a proficiency level 1 with a certain range, then they are eligible for a certain grading scale. So we are more specific when it comes to the grading scale. Other districts can do that. We are just more specific in ours because that's what we need. That's what our schools need. Many districts follow the state guideline, which simply states students cannot be failed solely based on their language proficiency.
And then they kind of have to make a discretionary decision on that. We kind of wanted it a little bit more uniform across the schools and the teachers and the principals that have to make those decisions.
Right. Can you articulate how that is, like what that grading is? What is that policy?
It's in the plan. So for example, I can give you an example. For a first grader who scores, I'm going to make this number up because I don't have it memorized off the top of my head, an overall of a 215, they're eligible for alternate grading, which is the U for unsatisfactory, S for satisfactory. For 9th grade through 12th grade, students are required to earn Carnegie units towards graduation. So if they master the objectives, they get the grade. If they have a certain proficiency level based on, and they compare that to their grade level, and they fail the class, the English language teacher, the content teacher, the counselor get together to determine is it because of the language proficiency issue or is it because they didn't master the objectives due to work ethic. And then based on that, they either get the Carnegie unit because they passed, they do not get the Carnegie unit because they fail, or they get a no mark, which means they do not get the Carnegie unit, but it's not penalizing them in the grade point average. Clear?
So
That's mud.
That's mud.
No, that is helpful. I'm kidding.
We just want to make sure we're not penalizing the students because of their language
There's
proficiency.
really not a lot of wiggle room that you asked about.
All right.
page 15 and 16.
Okay. Is there any aspect of what we're doing from a discretionary perspective that impacts our school test scores on the ABC scale?
I would not think so, no, sir.
Okay.
I will say in our audit that they came in and they were very complimentary of our English plan compared to other districts. I will say that.
They be in the state.
Yes.
That's all.
Okay. Okay, need a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda except L and S, which will be acted on separately.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Johnson,
Second.
second by Mr. McNeil. Any discussion on the item? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item 3A.
The Baco McCarty Foundation has submitted a proposal for the board's review. The foundation is requesting that the district allow employees to voluntarily elect payroll deduction for the grant program. The foundation states in their proposal, that the vast majority of the monies collected from the PGSD employees will go back to the classrooms. The proposal is attached for your review. The Board of Trustees approve the proposal for the Baco McCarty Foundation to allow employees to voluntarily elect a payroll deduction for the grant program.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Mr. Irvin,
Second. Yeah, Tracy.
second by Ms. Wilson. Any discussion on the item?
I didn't quite understand what the payroll deduction was, how this is put into practice.
Just same as any other payroll deduction, United Way, any type of deduction that we already have in place, so that employees can get a tax-free deduction for their donations. The difference is in these grants, the money comes back to future grants to the district. So it's more directly affecting us from that perspective. And let me just also say that we've had a long-standing relationship with the Baco McCarty Foundation, and they have funded a large number of projects that we have, including helping us to develop the Family Interactive Center. And we're coming up on our 10th year anniversary of that this year.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Item 3B.
The Board of Trustees approved an interlocal agreement with the City of Pascagoula at the September 10th, 2018 board meeting for the funding of school crossing guards. The city sent the first set of invoices June 26, 2019 for a period of October through May. The total invoice is $83,290.03. The invoices from the city are attached. It is recommended the Board of Trustees approve the payment of the school crossing guards to the City of Pascagoula in the amount of $83,290.03 per approved interlocal agreement.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Mr. Johnson,
Second.
second by Mr. Irvin. Any discussion on the item? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Item 3C.
Within the memorandum of understanding with Chevron, the $150,000 in funds were to be used for projects for the district. The first project will be an investment in the College and Career Academies. A welding lab, slab, and canopy will allow for a creation of a second lab for welding, more so cutting and burning on the outside. The estimate received for the project is $41,465. The second project will be a makerspace within the CCTI. This will be a fab lab that will be housed within our school district. It is recommended the Board of Trustees approve the two CCTI projects that will be funded with the funds received from the Chevron Memorandum of Understanding.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Wilson,
Second.
second by Mr. Irvin. Any discussion on the item?
Yeah, just one real quick one. So I know when we did the MOU with Ingalls regarding the machine shop and the welding lab, there was ultra-specific verbiage in there as far as limited advertising. Does that continue to the exterior of the building? Also, and I guess not to get petty, but I don't imagine that any corporation would want another corporation's logo and brand tacked up all over something that those funds were used to construct. And so how is that going to affect that, or is there going to have to be, labels from a different company put on that piece of construction as well?
Now, there's not going to be, at this point, I didn't anticipate that we would be labeling any of the exterior.
And not saying that we would be, I just didn't know if it,
Right.
if when they said, you know, they have the.
Kelly, there's nothing specific to that language in the agreement?
There is a provision regarding any use of that company's symbols, that permission will be obtained before those are used, if we were to use chevrons. But
Sure.
I don't see anything, from what I recall, of the agreement of a prohibition.
Okay, and I just know they reserve the right in the initial MOU for sole authorization to brand those facilities. And so just making sure, again, that I didn't remember and I didn't feel like it would have extended to exterior complexes, just making sure that we all felt that same way.
And we can double check that.
Yeah, no problem.
The issue is they did not provide the funding
Sure.
for that space. We know that there's a need. I've discussed it with the contractors on
Yep.
property that at the very least, we needed at least a 4-inch slab outside of there because of the amount of welding dust that gets tracked back into a brand new facility. The canopy is another big plus to be able to go out there and cut and burn even in inclement weather, as long as it's not lightning. But that would be a fenced-in, totally separate lab, but it would be adjoining the project that we're doing with Ingalls on the interior of the welding shop.
Yep, and I'm all in favor of it, don't mind voting in support of it this evening. Just wanted to make sure we didn't see that being an issue in the future.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0. Item 3D.
IDA is a federally funded program in PGSD. All federal projects must have public notice placed in the paper and posted in various locations, giving the stakeholders and parents an opportunity to review how the district spends IDA allocation prior to the board approval. The public review was held Friday, June 21st, 2019, from 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock. Documents attached. Part B's allocation for FY20 is $1,687,056 for Part B, $57,123 for preschool. Attached is a budget breakdown for the FY20 IDEA project application. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the FY20 IDEA project application for the 2019-2020 school year.
Heard the superintendent's recommendation, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Irvin. Any discussion on the item?
Yes, so apologies for this item and the next. It was a super crazy personal week for me, and I've reviewed, but not in some of the detail I usually am able to. Looking through here, it looked to me with allocating these resources towards personnel, which we should, that as I went through the facilities in the district, something that just caught my eye was if we had a position that was like titled, like descripted at a like level school, i.e. elementary school, academy, then into high school, that even between these like facilities, there was sometimes fairly noticeable discrepancy in pay and benefits, even though contract days were the same. And seeing, was there any, what was the reasoning behind that?
Well, that could be the difference between a behavior facilitator
Okay.
and a teacher, a special education teacher assistant, or a dedicated assistant, personal care attendant, which requires privacy and integrity and all of that good, all of that. That's a different pay scale for all of those people.
Mm-hmm.
When you are performing more detailed tasks for more involved special needs children, we do
Right.
pay those, we pay our employees a little bit more.
So, and agreed, and they should.
And your years of experience make a huge difference as well, your steps.
Okay, and that may
Yes,
be
sir.
what the thing is, but like I understand our personal care attendants and things like that, they're labeled separately. But if I had 287-day paraprofessional assistant teachers that are at like facilities, I was asking why discrepancies in pay between those two individuals that are like titled, like and like contracted, but experience could very well be what that is if we're saying that factor could make a big difference. Okay, and so that really answers that question for me, I guess.
Any other discussion on the item?
Yeah, I just have a kind of a broad general question. Are we mandated by law to provide funding for private schools in this?
Yes, I have to. I do not provide FAPE. Okay, that's free appropriate public education. Resurrection and Gateway do not get FAPE, but what they do is they get a proportionate share, and I provide service plans, and I provide speech only to those students. And that is a mathematical calculation, which is why I have to go meet with Resurrection and Gateway every summer. I have a meeting with them, and we sign off on it, and I tell them this is what I'm going to provide, and this is how much money I've been allotted based on your numbers for my students who attend your schools, or their students in general. And then I only provide service plans for speech. If they have a child that's more involved that attends the schools, I do not provide anything. If they want FAPE, they have to unenroll in private and come to me if they want full services. But if they want speech only, if they're speechless, then they can receive speech. But that is a proportionate share. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's for speech only.
Yes, sir.
And is that a state law or federal law requirement? Do you know?
That's a federal requirement to provide a proportionate share.
Okay.
It's a percentile. It's a mathematical formula. All I have to do is every year I enter the numbers, their total enrollment, my total enrollment, how many kids I've evaluated each year, that child find that I told y'all, that was on the board agenda last month. All of that encompasses all of that money. Everything's based on numbers.
And this, next question may be related or may not be. At our June 10th meeting, we also approved some funding under Title I, Title II, and Title IV grants.
Yes.
And that had some private school funding in that.
Same thing. It is a federal requirement. It's a proportionate share, but ours is based on the number of students that would go to Pascagoula-Gautier, that go to Resurrection, that also qualify as free and reduced.
Okay. And so what is the specific service being provided under the Title I, II, and IV?
Title II is professional development, period. That's what it's used for. Title I is for struggling students. So the students are evaluated on the way our students are also, the students that are struggling in academic areas, then the school may use their money to employ part-time tutors to work with those identified students. Title IV is well-rounded, safe and healthy, just like ours is. They get a percentage, and they can use it on the same types of activities that we can use it for in our school district.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item 3E.
Attached is a listing of administrators with proposed salary amounts for 2019-2020. The total cost of all increases is within the estimated amount included in the proposal for 2019-2020 budget. As recommended, the Board of Trustees approve the administrative salaries for 2019-2020 as presented.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Johnson,
Second.
seconded by Mr. McNeil. Any discussion on the item?
Yes, and again, my apologies. In perusing this, it looked like we were pretty level across the board as far as percentile for these positions, and something that I was quite okay with, roughly 1.5%. But then in-depth review, earlier showed we have one position that is definitely different than the others, and just wondering why the drastic increase for that assistant director as opposed to the other staff members.
Well, one of the things that we've dealt with in the school district, and I will back it all the way back to Hurricane Katrina, is the mental health aspect and the behavioral aspect of students. We're finding increasing behavioral issues, and we have a individual that we are fortunate enough to have on staff that is probably one of the top people in the state, if not the Southeast, with tremendous abilities, and he is very specifically designing a behavior system for this district, which will probably be a system that will be used in other places. It's very much like what we've done in EL in developing in the first year of the biliteracy seal that originated with a teacher in the district, and then we're at the forefront of that right now. But in the behavioral realm, and I think you can speak to Ms. Damon about what we've seen from an adjustment of students and behavior. We are very much need a person who can specifically go out and meet the needs of these students with these behavior issues and help teachers to develop a plan to understand what's going on. And that added responsibility, added time, and I'm trying to make sure that we keep this person, who I believe is very valuable to our district from a behavior standpoint. And I will tell you that most districts are at a deficit when they're trying to deal with complex behavioral issues with students, and we need to remain within the law as it relates to that, because these aren't students that are specifically special education students. These are behaviors that we've dealt with to a degree, but not to the degree that we're dealing with them right now. And it's just a very specialized set of skills that we're trying to hold on to. And so we made an adjustment in that position to expand that capacity for that employee.
Any other discussion?
Just generally, how do our salaries on this administrative salary scale compare to other districts? So would we be in the top 5 or 10%?
I couldn't tell you if we are or we aren't. We're, as a state, what was our rank? Ms. Green, are we like a...
We don't want administrative costs?
Yeah, our administrative costs were ranked, what, 7th lowest in the state, I think?
Is that salaries or overall costs?
That's overall cost.
Okay.
But there's the issue is, we have...
You're talking about as a overalls, like the state of Mississippi?
Yeah, in the state of Mississippi, we're in the, what was our rank in lowest total administrative cost?
7 sounds about right. I hadn't looked at it lately.
You said total cost or
In that
percentage?
category, yes, in the category that's given out by the state.
Administrative costs.
And I think 4.0 is your cap. Well, that's the top of that, right?
It's 5%.
5 now, yeah. So, and we're beneath that number considerably. That we do have people that are specialized so that they can focus, like Dr. Ketching specifically deals with federal programs. It's a very large program. Ms. Keeney works specifically with 800 special ed students across the district, is responsible for training everyone in the, that realm, and has 2 people that work beneath her because it's a broad area and the IEPs are very comprehensive. So we're pretty specialized in where we are from an employee standpoint. We're trying to remain competitive, with other districts. So I would say we're competitive. We're more competitive now than we've been, especially in our principal ranks. But yeah, we have I feel like we pay our people pretty well.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0. Okay. 4A, the informational reports. Looking at the vandalism report. Looking good. We have no losses this month. Okay. Which is really good considering kids are out and bored. Discussion on the vandalism report. Next item, this is Ryan and Weber. Okay.
They always said it was small.
Yeah. Any questions on the construction report for Ryan and Weber?
The whole question I have is on the bridge replacement. Maybe that you have an idea of how far off now the schedule is.
Yeah, so Gautier should be done this week, and Pascagoula, all the materials are here. So probably 7 to 10 days to install, but they say they're gonna be done in Gautier Thursday. I don't think they're gonna be done Friday. So I don't know if they're gonna work the weekend or not. So let's just say 7 to 10 days from next Monday to get Pascagoula done. But Gautier will be turned back over. So that's one of those unfortunate situations where the guy had a heart attack, and then that's kind of a specialty installer that you just don't get. It's not like a painter where you just go find one next door.
Right.
And
So,
that's not that far off from what we're doing.
yeah, so we're gonna get that turned over back as soon as we possibly can. So the teams are having to practice at Trent Lott and other places right now while we're doing that.
Any other comments?
We earlier approved the certificate of final completion for Trent Lott, which I believe it also included the parking lot. And the house was moved, the yellow house, and this may not even be a question that you know the answer to. It may be a question for Kelly or Mr. Adolphich, or no one may not answer this question, but the house that's now sitting to the south, is that the same house that was moved?
Yes.
Okay. And was our contract with, I mean, I'm just getting complaints from the community about this house that we just, the people think the school district just moved it, you know, and is now sitting there. I know that's not the case, but I just need some specifics about what's the deal? Is there a timeline? Are we just not even in communication with the subcontractor anymore?
We subcontracted to Robert Weiss to demo the house. Robert Weiss.
But they're not I guess they kind of are demoed.
Well, but that was our contract. Then
was there a portion of our contract that included moving the house?
Just getting rid of the house, basically.
Yes, we were getting rid of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever somebody asked Robert what we were doing with it, we said demo. He said, well, can I pay to move it? Which it costs way more to move it
Oh, yeah.
than us to demo it. And Robert said, if I deduct $6,000 from demoing the house, but I'll still clean up the property after the house is moved, are y'all okay with that? And we said, you know, it doesn't matter as long as it's demoed. So I don't know who is moving the house. We have no association with that house. The guy bought that lot in where the house burned.
They got it.
Right at the same time we were starting to, we issued the PO to demo it.
Yeah, it's got batter board set up like they're gonna set it right there.
Yeah, it's gonna be set there, but we have nothing to do with the house anymore.
Okay. It looks like they may be stripping parts of it.
Oh, no, it's gonna be set up to be rented. The guy got it, I mean, he paid $18,000 to move that house.
Okay.
We're only gonna pay $6 to demo it.
Okay. All right. I think some of the concerns in the community is it's just going to get, sit there derelict and take forever to get demoed.
And he's trying to find another house to move on the spot south of it where the house burned down, because he bought both those pieces of property.
Okay. He being the subcontractor?
Probably being Greg Hayes, the house mover. He's usually in the rental now. That would be my guess.
We didn't get involved in that at all.
So say it's no longer, it's on his lot now, right?
It's on his lot.
So
We saved
I think
$6,000.
To answer your question, when they're saying, well, what's going on, it's, we're no longer affiliated with it, not on our property. It's been disposed of from our hands, and if there was complaints, it would now become a city matter and not a school district.
Right, it belongs to the city and the property owner now.
And just so you guys are aware, we are expediting the property that we took the house from.
The
Clearing
and all.
it. We got the PO moving on that now, which is a part of the original thing, format that we approved last year. So we'll be putting in the, what's our backfill we put in there?
We gotta take 8 inches of muck out, 4 inches of good red clay, and then 4 inches of limestone to get it ready for asphalt.
And then we'll use county paving money that we have banked in order to do the paving part. So all that, we're trying to get that done before we open school this year. But that will give you a good extra group of parking spaces, and it'll be a lot more attractive than it is right now when that's done.
And the parking lot we approved in the project is only the one that's in front of the gym. The 8 or 10 parking spots.
Are we doing any landscaping around the parking lot, or we just?
We've got to leave 2 oak trees that are left, and then whenever we do it, we're going to put some green between the existing, and then we're going to have a walkway from the new parking lot to the south to the existing parking lot in front of the Trent Lott gym. Now, do you want us, the city's gonna tell us what kind of little islands we gotta put a tree and.
The green space that'll be required.
Yeah.
Will we ever find anything out here across the street?
I talked to them twice on that. I think what we're gonna have to do on the lot across the street is hire Machado Patano. They want a survey, and then they want a spec drawing of what we're proposing so we can present it to them so they can carry it to the council. He won't give me approval just by mouth. He won't.
Just so you guys know, we're looking at this property here, I think it's about $16,000. We don't want the property if we can't put parking on it. We're not gonna take over the green space or the wetland. We're just looking at 45-degree parking places, probably 10 to 15. That will help with the overflow at Trent Lot and the overflow whenever we have a board meeting or any other type of event here, registration. So it's just to add a few additional parking spaces here.
Yeah, this is property, we're just gonna have to spend some money.
On the high school roof replacement, it looks to me like they're moving right along. And are they ahead of schedule? Because they're moving pretty quick.
Yeah, I don't think they're ahead because they started late, but
Yeah.
they would have been ahead if they had started on time. So, but it's going well. We met with them this afternoon. It's just going
It's looking good, really. It really
Yeah.
looks good. I was wondering about the color, but it really blends in well with that tan brick.
Never go wrong with bronze.
That's
usually pretty safe. So,
And the other part of the roofing issue with, while we're talking about construction, under the current contract, we have, I was informed today, without knowing, that the roof at Gautier High School gym has been patched. We're waiting to see if that patch works, so that we won't have to worry about the new finished floors and the new bleachers getting any water on them in that part of the building, since that's all going to be brand new. So we've taken some corrective action there to keep those 2 leaks that are out on the floor from being an issue.
Any other discussion? Okay, next, item 4B, the monthly financial. Any discussion on that? Okay, hearing none. We'll go to item 5A, the regional policy. Mr. Johnson brought to my attention the fact that, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, we brought up a discussion about a bereavement policy, and we just didn't know where that landed. And I thank him for bringing that to my attention. And thank you all, too, for the 2 sample policies from Ocean Springs and Long Beach. And I'd like to hear what, after reading these sample policies, what other members of the board think.
So, yeah, I brought it back up to Sunny. Like I said, I believe it was 2 years ago work session. That was something that was brought up. And quite honestly, I thought that it was something that had been implemented. And then at a memorial service today, there was several educators present. And one of them made the comment, not really snide in nature or with malicious intent, just a statement that, can't believe with a district as large as we are that we don't have a bereavement policy. And so I went back and I looked and saw that we hadn't ever implemented one. Looking at Ocean Springs and Long Beach, I think it about accomplishes what we were trying to accomplish. The only thing, reading it earlier, that I mentioned to Miss Wilson, was not sure about the consecutive days thing. If you had something, on a Sunday night or a Monday where you had to leave work, then you're getting family in town, you may not have services till a Friday, and that individual may want to come back to work, But I think, looking at this policy on its face, Kelly, maybe tweak it a little bit. That these 3 maximum days of leave directly related in time to the event, granted by the building administrator, however you guys wanted to see that. But yeah, I think this would be really good. I also wouldn't mind, again, depending on what the other board members thought, even if we wanted to put you know, a time on it, you know, once an individual's been here for X amount of time. I do know that we have leave for other things, and in our current policy, you can use sick leave for bereavement. I just hate to put ourselves in a position where we tell somebody, you can't go to your mother's funeral because you had pneumonia at the beginning of the year, you know, and you're out of sick leave. So, but that's just my thoughts there.
And, well, my thoughts on it, you know, looking at Ocean Springs, Long Beach takes it one step farther. And they include, you know, aunts and uncles, and that, to me, that's stretching it a little far. If we do implement the policy, I think we need to start off small, like Ocean Springs is smaller, and if we see to where it's not costing us that much, and we elect to do something else, add some more. But I would also like in the policy, this was something Mr. Herbie brought up, is, you know, there's special circumstances, like let's suppose that somebody raised you, and of course, they're really not an aunt or uncle or anything like that, and just have a discretionary policy in there that it's up to the superintendent on special circumstances, you know, to approve something like that.
And I'm fine with that too, and I agree. I think we should keep it small. And Kelly, you may know off the top of your head, I know as far as Mississippi Code establishes immediate family, does that include aunts and uncles in it? I don't believe that it does. But I wouldn't mind checking into that, and however the Mississippi Code defines immediate family, like I said, we keep it as small as we can possibly keep it. And what you were just saying, Sonny, I know at the refinery we entertain those kind of things as well, and again, it'd be up to administration, but one of the things that we do is usually, if it's something like that with that kind of a relationship, you're going to have some part in the service more often than not. And if you bring back the paper that you get and it has your name on it or whatever, then that's that. But those are just options for consideration.
Any other discussion?
No, I mean, I agree with Mr. Johnson. The only thing I said is pretty standard, normal across the board. The consecutive is one of the things I actually looked at too. As far as consecutive, I mean, normally I generally see 3 days. I mean, you might take the 3 days over the course. You might have to go take care of personal things one day and come back and go to the funeral another day. But other than that, it's pretty standard.
Yeah. And building level administrator, obviously you don't want to have a family member pass away and you take 2 days for the services and then a month later you come back and say you want your 3rd day, right? That's something that we want to leave to the building administrator, that it be directly, you know, in relation to the time of the event.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it, and a bereavement policy. I think at the next meeting, or whenever y'all are ready to propose a more specific policy, that would be most ideal, that we could vote on. When y'all do make that proposal of a bereavement policy, a more specific one, I would ask for 2 things. Number one, and I don't know what type of relationship you have with the CFO of Long Beach or Ocean Springs.
I was the CFO of Long Beach for 5 years before I came here.
Well, if they could provide an estimate to us before we vote on just a ballpark estimation of what this would cost.
I can explain why the 3 consecutive days is in there, and I can also tell you why you have to be very specific in the relationship, because we would have individuals. Long Beach is used to not be as specific in the relationships that you could attend, and then you would have a handful of employees that once a month would have bereavement because this was their next door neighbor who they would go to after school every day, and that you ran into that a lot. And then, like you said, it's almost not fair sometimes for the principals to have that laid on them every single time. So that's why, and I understand there are some other situations, but that is why it was so specific in the relationship nature of the, and also on the 3-day thing, it's kind of like the example you gave. there would be individuals that would take 2 days, and then it'd be 2 months later, and happened to be kind of around spring break, and they were going to spread the ashes then. And it just got to be where, and so that's why in Long Beach, I can't speak for Ocean Springs, that is 3 consecutive days. However you want to take it. If it's the day of the death, and 3 more, if it's the funeral, and 3 more, however you want to do your 3 days, you get 3 days, and they've got to be consecutive. It was just for management also, because it's hard to keep, when you have 1,400 employees, it's hard to keep up with, okay, this one's had a day and a half, this one had 2 3/4, that type thing. Now, I can call Ocean Springs, because the Long Beach policy hasn't changed since I left. I'd be glad to call Mary in Ocean Springs and get the information. I also will contact the CFO to see in Long Beach if she can give me the number of days.
Just an idea.
That people use.
An estimate for what it would cost.
Can I ask about the language? Can we put that if a guardian who raised an individual is deceased, then they could be given, because guys, we're going to have to be very specific, and I wish I could say that 100% of the people are ethical and honest, but we're just not there. And I think we need to be very specific about this. And I have no, and look, you guys, I've already come to you on several occasions to let you know we had employees that had, run out of time and all these type of things. I'm very helpful with his family. My father was a benefactor of people who treated him well when he was in his last days. And so, from an employment standpoint, and so we'll have a draft ready, but I just don't want to deviate too far from what's established in other places.
Sure.
So we're not coming back and doing revisions after 1 year, because I just want to have a solid policy ready to present to you guys, and I could probably send it out in the Friday update individually to you, and then you can respond back individually to me whether or not, but not polling the board, but just, does this meet your standard of,
Right.
We don't have to get specific about it, and then we can discuss it in the next scheduled board meeting.
I would like to really, if you send it out, just if you have maybe 2 sample policies, one that we might would, like on one it listed aunts and uncles, but anything that might would change, on that, just a couple of sample policies, and then that way we can, let you know which one looks best for us, in our opinion. And then maybe that can be, if that looks best for us, then maybe we'll put it on the next board meeting and have that first reading.
Absolutely. And I was trying to look through our, the other policy that we have. Okay. So when it was forced to use sick time there, it does speak to the way Mississippi Code defines immediate family. Spouse, parent, step-parent, sibling, child, stepchild, grandchild, grandparent, son or daughter-in-law, mother, father-in-law, brother, sister-in-law. And then it goes on to clarify a child being biological, adopted, foster, or a child for whom the individual stands or stood in loco parentis. Yes, so I think that covers what you were talking about there. And that's why I was saying earlier to Kelly, y'all can take a look at, and it's 37-7-307, how Mississippi Code defines immediate family. I think it covers what you were trying to cover, but that way we're still very specific, and it's in accordance with the other policies we have as well, so we don't have conflicting policies.
Any other discussion on the item?
The only other thing I'd like to know is, does the Mississippi School Boards Association have a draft policy, have a bereavement policy?
I can probably not.
I looked today and did not find one on bereavement specifically. I found some school districts such as Long Beach and Ocean Springs that did, but not an MSBA one.
Good. Any other discussion?
No, sir. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so move right on to the next item. Let's see, we need approval to close the meeting to determine the executive session. We're going to act on, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, request for accepting board policy, JVCCA, and then we have to choose that.
So moved.
Motion to approve by close the meeting to go and determine the executive session by Mr. Johnson. Second by Mr. Irving. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.